The Rising Part 1, The Rising Part 1, Jeff Silver shared his extraordinary experiences with non-human intelligences and a consciousness event that changed his life forever. At just 16 years old, Jeff was abducted from a soccer field and taken aboard a craft where he was introduced to the Elder, a being who revealed to him a staggering truth. He agreed to this experience before he was even born. During this encounter, Jeff was shown the afterlife, a vast, luminous realm that defied human comprehension, and was made to understand that his consciousness was part of something far greater than himself. If you haven't listened to that episode, I recommend going back to it and listening to it first before this one. Now in The Rising Part 2, Jeff takes us even further. What began as an inner awakening evolved into more direct physical encounters, including contact on a remote island, the arrival of a mysterious red orb, and the sense that something was watching him, but nothing could prepare him for what happened next. In this episode, Jeff recounts his most intense and harrowing experiences, including full-blown contact with extraterrestrial beings, an abduction that took him aboard their craft, and an encounter that led him to piloting a UFO. He describes a breathtaking journey to a hidden city on Venus, interactions with multiple non-human species, and revelations that challenge everything we know about our reality. Also, this episode does include some not safe for work themes, but don't worry, I'll warn you about it beforehand in the actual episode. I have to admit, I was very skeptical of Jeff's story. His experiences are so far beyond what we consider possible that it's really hard to wrap my head around them. But the fact that he passed a polygraph test, which I posted on our Instagram, combined with recent whistleblower testimonies from Jake Barber about psionic-controlled UAPs, has really made me seriously question the nature of reality. Could Jeff's claims actually be true? Pretty wild stuff. Anyway, I'm really excited to hear what you guys think about this part of the story. This is episode 7. The title is The Rising Part 2, and you're listening to the Close Encounter Club.
That is about people who live on the faith of God as they travel from place to place with nothing holding them down. And what they found was that when they are open-hearted and they're coming from their pure heart, the universe creates wild synchronicities, basically helps them. So they end up learning that if we just kind of do this stuff for God literally makes magic happen. He feeds us and houses us. And I was like, this is amazing. I had no idea. I was not thinking I would leave my life. That's
you have
not
a God. Yeah, so does my son. Got 16 of them.
Though, in the year of 1997, before the consciousness event, having tons of psychedelics.
It's nice. At least you can protect yourself.
Come true of thinking about someone that would show up around the corner on the street. Things that would be about an event that would so things like that were occurring all through the summer, and just not having spiritual stuff happening. And only now I understand that come to it. So it all culminates in this kind of intensity. So once I read this message, my inner spirit turns, and it's that way, that white room now, that vibration, that frequency, and the book kind of wants to.
Hello, Christopher.
I have one of the effects that is
That's a weird one to say.
left my house. I was staying at the time. I was like, sorry guys, my friends, I'm leaving everybody. I don't know what this is about, but I'm doing it. I cut up all my accounts, all my banks, everything. I had no grid. I was not attached to the grid.
Wow.
Or anything. And then
So
imagine
literally leaving all material life.
Yeah.
Just
for this
going
like, spiritual
somewhere.
thing going on. Yeah, I'm going somewhere for this spiritual thing that I can't figure out what it's about. And when I do, by the way, my parents are like, "Hey, how about I transfer the car to you? We're doing that anyway." Yeah, I literally thought I was walking out the door with a backpack, and so right away I do have synchronicities where there's this kind of like protection thing going on. So okay, that worked. And then right away, as soon as I start traveling, I find it very uncomfortable living, and I start living in a car. So that ends up being because the rescue is I end up living in the car for a year as I travel around, because it only lasts a year. Okay, so I'm traveling, and I've been traveling now so I left February 21st, 1998, and February, March, April. So about 6 weeks, I think. I decided to go to an island here in Vancouver. And I'm backpacking, and I'm still so insecure, man. I don't know what I'm doing. But I'm starting to embrace the adventure. I left my car behind, and I hitchhiked to this island that's several islands in. It's really hard to get to, but I heard to go there. It's kind of fun. And I camp on the beach, and it's nighttime. And when I'm there, I'm eating my dinner at nighttime around this fire on the beach. And an object flies up to my left, kind of like I'm looking down, and suddenly there's this object, and I'm like, whoa. I swear, because it was so odd, it was like an angle. It came in at an angle and then stopped. But it's the color of a flare. Really bright red. You know, there's no internet at the time. Well, there was, but it was not the way it is now. And, you know, I didn't have this knowledge, so I assumed it was a flare. I didn't know what I was looking at. And I'm staring at it, and I'm like, okay, it's gotta be a flare. I'm thinking logically, it's just something. And I'm eating, and it's just sitting there. And it's close, and it's lighting up the forest below it. And I'm not understanding what I'm looking at. And it starts freaking me out. What is this? And then it lowers. It like smoothly just goes into the forest. And I'm like, okay, good, it's gone. And now I actually feel that something's in the forest. I'm kind of weirded out. Part of me wanted to go explore. It's like, I want to go see what that is. And I feel that it could be something that I don't understand and I want to know. Part of me says, no, don't worry about it. And I actually was like, okay, you know what, I'm going to go to bed. And I decided to go to bed. And when I do, the last thing I do before I go in the tent is I look into the forest. And I'm like, it feels like something is in the forest. And I listened to my intuition. I said, I'll be safe. I said, okay, I'll be safe. And I went to bed. And I woke up in the middle of the night having what I actually called it. I said out loud, they were here. And what I knew was something was associated with that consciousness event. I just called it a faceless presence, as if something was associated with it I couldn't label or name. And all I knew, and so I didn't know what that meant. Only assume it's all psychic or astral. You don't imagine it's something as intense as real physical contact. So I assumed that. It was late at night, 3 or 4 in the morning. I get out of my tent and a woman, like 30 feet away, and so I'm off the beach, just up from the beach on the field, and she is standing on a rock, and the wind is blowing, and her hair is blowing, and she's looking out at the moon, and I'm like, what is going on? Like, what was that object about? Why did I have that weird dream? And then now, what is she doing here? And I'm getting up to urinate, and I quickly do my business, and I'm trying not to scare her, but I'm weirded out by her, and I'm not clear what she's doing so close to my tent, and I don't want to freak her out, and because I'm a man. I think I was in my underwear in the middle of the night, and so I quickly get back to my tent, and that's the end of it. In the morning, I feel like that red object I saw was on the field. And I could feel it. I could just feel that object was on the field. And I walked through the field trying to, like, why do I feel like that object is? What's going on? And what it does is it gives me a confirmation that my traveling was for something happened that night. I didn't know what it was. It felt mystical. It felt spiritual. Now there's a reason. Something is going on. Spirits know I'm here, know I'm traveling. This was for a purpose. I don't know what it is, but there's a purpose. And so it just gave me a feel of confidence. It turned out it was a full-blown contact. when I signed up for this, I had no idea of the aliens. 16, I had no idea what it would be. The memories I have are broken of how I got out of the tent. But when I get out of the tent, I'm in my clothes. And it kind of still doesn't make sense to me. There's something weird going on with the bodies that they are able to control. And basically I'm waking up outside of my tent. And as I'm outside the tent, that red object is actually on the field now. It is on the field. It's basically shining bright lights. It's kind of very colorful lights. And I'm terrified. And so I'm not aware of my past memories. All I know is I'm freaking terrified. But what's happening is, I'm also saying in my head, I was right. There was some other presence involved. So I'm actually solving. I feel like it's them. I can access them, and I begin bawling. Then I can access them, and I begin bawling. I begin crying. And it's actually kind of why I think the entities are operating outside of duality. What I mean by that, by duality, that we're in the dimension of duality where you experience the opposite of happiness and sadness, hot and cold, male, female. The universe is filled with this kind of duality. The White Room is this utter bliss. And now that the experiment got initiated and we're into a new phase with the entities, I'm the most lost. I'm in such pain. And it's this inverse. It's like it's something reverse that happened. And so I'm bawling from realizing, hey, this is what it was. Like, this is what we were doing. Like this thing like me leaving my life, and that was it. Like it's like that's what you were gonna do to me. I thought it would be something else. I thought maybe I'd be famous or something. I didn't know what it would be. And then you're learning it's this crazy experiment. I was utterly alone, but also something really traumatizing. If I don't figure this out, then the guy who's got no memory of the contact events is going to be traumatized. And it might damage you. It might last a long time. Damage. And you're terrified to watch these moments occurring as you're unraveling. And so I'm actually crying pretty hard, really, not all of them, but she's the main entity. And especially when there's hard moments, she ends up being there for me. It's kind of a weird,
like a motherly thing.
Yeah. So that's her here, and she was the floating skull. So I'm confused when I don't know what I'm looking at. I don't know who she is, and then I'm terrified, and it's a floating skull. It turned out her face, just the way it looked in the dark and the light, that she was actually a gray alien with the big eyes, or what it was. And then she puts herself in front of me, and so she had floated. It was actually really interesting. I don't see that too often either. And she had floated up, and then she lands in front of me. She said, "We will have your back. We will be there, and we'll have your back." On my fifth contact, she said. So while I'm crying in front of her, I said, "You said you'd have my back." I was like,
You're pleading to her.
yeah, pleading. What happened? You said you'd be there, because I didn't feel it was a mess for me. And it turned into this whole traumatic thing, and didn't feel like I discovered my soul. It was this intense thing that would just traumatize me. And though it was very beautiful, it's true, but it was combined with this insanity. She says, we were there. You would have felt us. And of course, what does happen is they have this ability to be invisible, right? This kind of invisible presence. And it's true, there were moments where I felt them. And that's why I said there was a faceless presence to this. There was moments where there were synchronicities, and I did see I saw a weird meteor that aligned with my thinking at one time. So there were weird synchronicities. There was a feeling something was trying to talk to me and tell me to go. I didn't know there was an alien. I assumed it's a spirit or something. And there's no knowledge. So that's it. She's like, you were there. You would have felt us. And I'm like, I don't know what to do with that. I'm broken, so I start crying more. She actually holds my hand, and it's this bawling that is I've never done this. I've never been in such joy ever before, and I've never bawled as hard as this either. So I've never been in such joy as I've been in the first contact event as ever before, and I've never bawled as hard as this either in this 8th contact event. So it's such a strange, I was in such depth of
There's a duality there too, a little bit of both high-end opposites in the spectrum in the extreme way. It sounds like.
And it's kind of interesting as a human. It might be very true that you can't have that experience without having its opposite.
Yeah.
So if there's something maybe very wisdom about that. some kind of wisdom to that. That in the moment, they can't address it. They just try to handle me in the moment. And so I'm bawling and bawling. And it turns out I'm so into the bawling, and it's so rocking my with my eyes and my tears coming down. I realize we're floating. She'd taken my hand, and there's no sense of me floating. I'm just now in this cocoon thing, and it's being picked up, and we're moving to the object that's on the field. And then she puts me down, and she goes inside.
I'm sorry. I have to ask a question that might be a weird question, but I have to ask it. What did her hand feel like? Did you have a sense of? Did it feel just like a human hand, or was the texture of her hand different anyway?
Oh well, it would have been thinner. Yeah, it definitely. But it doesn't feel like a human hand. No. But I'm in too much emotional distraught to. But it was definitely the thin hand. Now, yeah, how do you understand?
I'm sorry. I'm just
No, it's
curious because it's one of those moments too, when you said it, it just seemed like a very like intimate moment. Like
It is,
take my
yeah.
hand and follow me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but that's pretty much it. The emotions are dominating it. Not just that, there's a slight bit of discomfort that she's holding my hand, just subconsciously.
I could imagine that. Yeah.
Largely because you did this to me, right? And I'm like you're doing this to me, and now like you're taking me away, and you again, you're the terror, not the terror, but there is a level of uncomfort with what's going on. That
No, but yes, I can imagine
they
that.
did this, and I didn't even know when I'm young. And not that I really fully thought that way, but there's a part of me that's thinking, like, I put my trust into them, and now this is what's happened, and I don't know the outcome, so I'm just hoping it's for the best. But not just that, I'm out of control. They're in control. I can't really change.
You have to surrender.
You have to surrender to the situation, exactly, and that's exactly what was going on here. So, yeah, she put me down.
She was going to lead you towards the ball you said that was in the field, I think, correct?
Yeah, the orb, the ball that's right. It's a giant, like a 20-foot tall metal object.
Oh, so it was, oh wow, so it was. I was picturing something small, but you're saying it's
Yeah,
a
it was-
legitimate craft
it
almost.
was like a craft. Yeah, it was a 20-foot tall craft. Yeah, it was a ball of silver, like a metal concrete. Yeah, and then we get inside, and there's two tall aliens, two tall medical beings. I call them the medical beings because they do kind of ooze that feeling of being medical. And everyone is projecting all this concern and care, and they're really like trying to make me feel better. And there's medical, so it's a curved inside, and there's two medical beds that curve. They're projected enough that the bed doesn't curve, but they're up against the curved wall. And then one takes control. The medical being, I guess, we start kind of climbing, and now, and it's largely because I think, at one point I asked, or the dialogue, of course, is in the book, but it's in word for word, but it is framed like, what happens now? You live out your life. But I'm like, but I can't. Basically, that's the point. Like, I can't live out my life. I'm lying. I'm lying to myself. Like, I know the answer. I know the answer of what happened to me already. It's April, and this consciousness event happened in December. I need to know what happened to me. I need to know where this comes from. And she's like, you can't do that right now, but it will all come together in time. And I'm like, what do you mean? I don't understand. Like, none of this made sense at this point. I knew we were building up to something and how it initiated, but I don't know why they're in my life. As I'm kind of crying, not really knowing how to handle it, through the screen, we're going up into space, and I can see a base, sort of like a black object through the screen, and we are moving into something, and then it seems like we move through a wall of this object. So instead of a bay door opening or something, we move inside, and it appears that we've gone into a hangar. And then the craft lands, and then the door opens, and then the two gray aliens get out, the two tall ones. And I'm actually saying, I can't do this. What's going on? I can't do this. They have some interesting things that they do. Again, it might be said that she did some kind of, maybe this was manipulation. I don't think it's manipulation. But she projects a light out of her eye. It's like she has some kind of like tech abilities that can impact the human brain. The gist of what the feelings are you didn't do anything wrong. Like, you put it together in time, and it's okay. Like, we're with you while you do. We're here for you while you do. And so that's the gist of it. It was like kind of a really intense energy that was like coming out of her head. So it's not words, nor was it telepathy for her. It's like these really intense impressions that she's putting into my head. And it did leave me with this impression of like, okay, I'm traveling now, and I'm doing this kind of really hobo thing, and these are the only people who know what's going on, and these are the only ones who can maybe help me. So if something happens to me, so there's a sense of like trying to make sense of it, and you're like, okay. And so it kind of rectifies. It's like, and I think what she's doing is she's rectifying some emotions, like a chemical process in my brain. So I'm trying to make me feel better by correcting my brain, basically. It's with these imprints of like, okay, we're here for you, and you're doing wrong, and so it's really intense. And then we get out of the craft, and when we do, we're in a hangar. It's I always want to call it a field of UFOs. They're different types of objects, but we're in a base.
Different shapes too, and
Different shapes, yeah, different shapes. Yeah, we're in a base, and it's like a field, and it's like a base station. It's a kind of station, and so there's like a lot of people here, and then there's a lot of objects spewed throughout this kind of area. And there are some. I'll come back, so I'll end up like kind of remembering these shapes. But yeah, there are some strange objects that are black diamond, not diamond, but pointed. Not a tube. Things with nose cones. It's kind of weird, and there's like an object, the top object with a nose cone.
how large were they?
Some of them were large. Some of them were. Yeah, it was so big. It felt equivalent to a football stadium. Not that. I think maybe it's the size of the football, maybe not the seats of a football stadium, but it felt quite large. And then there's several layers of like objects, and then we're walking down a main road, and so immediately I'm in this kind of different state, and I'm starting to be like, oh yeah, this is lots of fun. I'm like, oh yeah, okay, so let's pretend that didn't happen, and what happened back there. And now I'm in this other place with them. This is really amazing. And then we get out.
And do you think that what she manipulated, like your brain chemistry, you think that maybe perhaps why you were kind of feeling that this is actually pretty cool, I'm missing these crafts and things like that? Do you think that possibly was connected?
I think not repressed, but because repression would actually be a different emotion. I think it rectifies. I think she was rectifying. I think that's what it is. I think she's rectifying the emotions. So then I can actually be in a proper state while I'm on the craft, while I'm with them. Because there is let's go back to the vibration. And I can't be in that vibration when I've got all this emotional, mud with me. And then so she's rectifying it, and now I'm able to be in the state with it.
It's almost like mindfulness in a way, because it's like when you're in an emotional state, you're either thinking about the past, thinking about the future. You're not in the present moment or in that vibration, and it almost seems like you said, she rectified that, and now you're like, okay, I'm in the present now. Like what happened before. I'm in the present now. Look at these insanely sweet crafts.
Yeah.
Like that you're kind of in the present moment is what it sounds like.
Yeah. And that is very accurate. You have to it's a consciousness state that the human brain has a tendency to be emotional, and you have to be out of that to be in their environments almost. That's exactly what
in
it's
the
like.
present.
Yeah, to be present. Yeah. There's a hangar bay door that's large, and we get out and we turn left, and we turn left again. So we kind of made it to this end hallway, and there's a transporter that's at the end of it, and it's kind of down this like small hallway. We get on it, and so she's first. It's like a singular transporter for individual people or entities. So she's first, and then I get on it. We just follow her. Then now we both come out on another hallway, and as we do, Earth is to my left through a window. And so I didn't really understand this until I see this window. Then I'm like, I'm in space. I'm in outer space, and it's like really crazy. And then there's like a viewpoint of Earth, and she's not talking. We're walking. I'm pretty certain I see an entity here. I'll actually analyze later on because I'll keep seeing these entities. But yeah, I do. I see like a person, or like I don't consider it a person, but it was a humanoid entity, and that's the first time I'm like, oh, like what's going on here? And it's not a gray alien either. She had told me in the last contact event, before I went traveling, about like some kind of federation of planets or some kind of agreements, like civilizations or entities that work together. So there's this idea of a collaboration. Here I am now with her, and there's these other there's another different type of alien, and so I'm just making assumptions. I'm like, is this
Like a different, was it a different species? Like it wasn't a gray?
Yeah, it wasn't a gray.
Wow.
Let's pass the red
I
light,
wish I could name
guys.
the color. Not Caucasian, but maybe yellowish, like a yellowish skin, and much more defined facial features. That looked very odd, like and thin. That's the part. The thin and bizarre facial features and yellow skin. And I don't really understand her. And then I didn't ask questions. And so we get into this room. We go left. And when I get to the room is like got a red light on it. A red light. It's like a not as intense as a photographic dark room, but kind of similar, but not so dark that I can't see. There are 2 rows of computers. Stage to the right of me are my first human gray alien hybrid I would see, and 2 gray alien bodies. So they're all bodies, and they're in tubes. And the tubes are like leaning back a little bit. And she tells me to take my clothes off, and she tells me to get up on the stage, and I do. And I'm so altered by the consciousness event that happened to me, and now the state I'm in here, knowing that this is all tied to the white room and being this orb. It's so bizarre that there's not the typical embarrassment I would have had at that age. I'm like not embarrassed or not even concerned to be unclothed in front of this entity. So it's very weird to me presently that that's the case. And that says everything about the state I was in. And so she wants me on the stage, and this like a glass casing comes over top of me or comes around me, and then